Hello everyone and welcome to day 11 of Cavemas. We are nearly finished, which makes me a little bit sad. Things are quite chaotic, not only in the cave but in this household in general today, so it is not going to be a long video. Now, we did have a review of our Scrawlrboxes for the year, and today I am going to do a review of the Scrawlrchallenges. Not only so that you can see the different types of artwork that I've created, but also the different mediums that have been used, and perhaps there might be some sort of improvement over the year. I can let you be the judge of that, and you can let me know about that in the comments. So I am just going to get to top down view and we can have a look through all of the prompts and the pictures that I have created for 2018 courtesy of the Scrawlrchallenge prompts. Let's get going. Okay, so we're going to start sensibly from the very beginning, and January's Scrawlr box, the prompt was Starlit, and this was the box where we were given a graphite pencil and one magic marker. This was the result of my efforts. I did want to have a sort of movie star type idea, but I didn't want it to be kind of cliche, and this was my attempt. Now, at this point I had not been drawing it very long at all, and I thought it was quite a brave thing to attempt a human being at that stage. However, I did it and I used my magic markers to their I was going to say their full potential. I really didn't. If I could go back and redo this, I probably would, just purely for the skill level, which I think is very apparent in this particular picture. The February Scrawlr box gave us a set of Goldfaber Aqua water soluble pencils, watercolour pencils, and I got really excited about that box. And the prompt was Quiet Morning, and this was one of the ones that came to me almost straight away. I knew what I was going to do. And this is the view out the cave window in the morning if you look slightly down and to the right. And yeah, I was really pleased with this overall. Again, not experienced at all with watercolour pencils, but I had great fun doing this. And this definitely comes in one of the higher up the scale pictures that I really enjoyed doing and that I was quite proud of. So that was good fun. I liked it. March's prompt was Magic Potions, and we were given black paper and some art supplies that would show up on black paper. The prompt was Magic Potions, and this was the one I struggled with so badly. So badly. It took me a long time to figure out what I wanted to draw, but actually drawing the picture as well, it was difficult for me. It was very difficult, and again, having only been drawing properly in inverted commas for a couple of months, this was really tough, and I actually had 2 attempts at this. The first attempt went completely wrong and I went back. Looking back on it now, there's things that I would change, there's things that I would do differently, but that's kind of the point of doing something like this, is to see how far you've come and push yourself out of those comfort zones, which the Scrawlrchallenge is great for, because I was a lot braver with all of these challenges than I would have been otherwise had I just been drawing for myself. So I wasn't displeased with the result, but I did really struggle with this, and it took me forever. It took me like 5 hours to film this because I was that hesitant. The next box was the April box, and the prompt for that was Take Flight. This box we were given a set of Derwent Graphitint pencils, and this was my picture, and Mr. Heron here is just lifting his wings, getting ready to take off. I absolutely fell in love with these pencils, and I had a lot of fun doing this. This was very enjoyable, and drawing animals seems to be a bit more of a comfort zone for me than anything else, so I actually quite enjoyed drawing this as well, just for the simple pleasure of it rather than the technical aspects of it. I have used the Graphitint pencils a bit more since, and I've learned to use them a bit better now, and I was so glad I got the opportunity to try them in this box and made Mr. Heron here and make him all cool. On to the next box was the May box, and we were given a set of alcohol markers from Spectra AD. The prompt was Woodland Creatures, and this was my fox. I did a sort of study on drawing foxes, but having never drawn one before I attempted this, and again, I was not experienced at all with alcohol markers, so I was reasonably pleased with this. I felt that there was a lot missing from the picture at the time and I couldn't put my finger on it. Now that I'm a bit further down the line, there's so many things I would change about this. But it does look like a fox. The colour orange obviously helped quite considerably there. But again, it's quite a simplistic picture. There was no background or anything in it. And that's purely down to my skill level and my confidence level. The June box was quite a strange one. It was more of a crafty box, and we were given some pencils and some tracing paper and whatnot. It was the first sort of out of the box, that doesn't make any sense at all, that we were given, and the prompt for that was Twisted Reality, and I was really pleased with the concept that I used here. The drawing itself is actually okay as well. Again, back to humans, not great at drawing humans, but my idea was that we put up this front on social media, and you know, you only sort of put the good stuff up, which I've talked about quite recently actually, but when you lift up, this is what's happening underneath, and quite a lot of us hide these things. So maybe not the best artwork ever. I did like the way her hair turned out using all different coloured pencils, but I just thought the idea of it was quite a good one, and it's the first time that any of my artwork has really had any sort of message or meaning attached to it rather than just drawing something for the sake of drawing it. So I really like that aspect of it too. So despite being quite an odd set of supplies, I weirdly enjoyed this one as well. The next box was very, very subjective. The July box was a bullet journaling box, which a lot of people argue is not art, and therefore it was not a set of art supplies. I like to journal, and I put them to good use, and I just basically made a list using all the different stamps and things like that. So I actually quite enjoyed this box, but I do agree I would not class it as an art box. However, the next month made up for that quite considerably, and this was by far my favourite box and my favourite challenge of the year. In fact, no, it wasn't my favourite challenge, it was my second favourite challenge. We were given the Derwent Inktense travel pan set, so it's like paints, and the prompt for that was False Prayer. This was the outcome of that. We were given this lovely watercolour paper, which I learned a lot about as well. I thought it had been torn off, and this is called a deckled edge, and I learned that from you guys, my lovely subscribers, so thank you very much for educating me on that. With this one, I kind of wanted to avoid religious connotations with the prompt, but it's very, very difficult to do that. And it took me a long time to come up with the idea of what I was going to draw, but we were given this paper in two halves. So the idea of false prophets and a wolf in sheep's clothing was the decision that I went with. Not being a painterly type at all, I was quite worried that this wasn't going to turn out at all. And I'm actually quite pleased with the results. I was quite chuffed with myself. The sheep side was easier for me because I look at sheep every day, so I'm kind of used to them. Wolves, not so much. And I was really glad that I got to use some of the colours as well. And the idea behind this side was by sort of decking them out with gems, it was making them enticing, you know, like, ooh, shiny things. And this is the bit that you don't want to mess with. So I think I got I know it was kind of like a tenuous link to the prompt, but again, I was actually very, very pleased with this, and I surprised myself with how well it came out, considering that my painting skills were zero, nada. And that, again, this was really, really good fun. I really enjoyed it, but yeah, that was one of my favourites, definitely. Moving on, the next box was what we've dubbed the Inktober box, and this was the one with all the black pens in it, and the prompt for that was Jazz Noir. Yeah. I was quite pleased with my trumpet. Other than that, not really. Not something for me to be proud of. There is only so much you can do with, I think it was like 9 black pens or 8 black pens in it, and I think I could have come up with a much better concept, and had I incorporated an animal into it, it would probably have looked a million times better. So, great fun though. I mean, again, there was no point this was not fun, but I just wasn't all that impressed with the outcome of it, because I thought by this stage I could do better. I was better than this. But never mind. Again, it's one of those things where with the what's the word I'm looking for? With the restrictions of only using the items in the box, which I am very strict about, and the time factor as well, there is pressure on me to have these Scrawler challenges done by a certain point in the month so that I can put them into the video schedule. You know, that always plays a factor, and if I'd left this a lot longer and thought about it, I could probably have come up with something a lot better. But you win some, you lose some, you know, that's what it's all about. But again, it's good to get pushed outside your comfort zone. When I was doing this picture, I did find a pen that I absolutely love, 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 and it's something that I would never have used. I would never even have considered using it up until this point, and that was the Pentel brush pen, and you get these in loads of different colours, and that is something that in 2019 I am definitely going to buy and use in my artwork, because this pen is spectacular. The brush on it is, oh, the only word I can use for it is lush. It's a lush brush. So even though I wasn't too pleased with my Scrawlrchallenge outcome, I was just really happy that I found this brush. I was super excited about this box as well. This was the one with the Derwent Lightfast pencils in. And this is by far the artwork that I am most proud of. The prompt was washed ashore. And these pencils were lovely. It was lovely on the paper. And again, this was the idea for the prompt came to me absolutely straight away. I knew exactly what I was going to do. And I'm so pleased with the way that this turned out. This was inspired by my recent trip to Mauritius, which wasn't long before I did this picture. And when I was out swimming in the absolutely clear blue crystal water, there was a little starfish floating about, and I picked him up and, you know, had a look at him and all the rest of it. So yeah, absolutely lovely. And it's nice that this reminds me of my honeymoon in Mauritius as well. So I felt at this point that maybe my artwork was actually starting to improve slightly, and it was the first time that I really felt the confidence from the beginning of the challenge, and I was also pleased with the outcome. Funnily enough though, this medium obviously is all in pencil, so it's no surprise really that if I was going to see an improvement, it would be in a pencil medium, not in anything else. The November box was interesting. It was a sort of a cobbled together set of supplies. There was ballpoint pens and all sorts in there, and the prompt was body parts. I am not good at drawing human things. I am not experienced enough at drawing humans, although it's something I keep trying, and I wanted to practice, and I kind of took this prompt as an opportunity to practice. So I went for a sort of diagrammatical approach, and I have two little people in a studio doing yoga here, and I have done close-up inserts of various body parts, and let me tell you, this was really, really difficult. Although it was difficult, it was enjoyable. I didn't feel the same sort of fear and pressure that I had when I had done this one back in April. Yeah, in April. This was much more enjoyable for me, and I was much more relaxed about it. And I think that says more about the experience that I've gathered over the year rather than the actual content of the picture. But some of them turned out okay, and some of them really didn't. Trying to draw a backwards hand that's splayed out, it's not the easiest thing to do. It's really not. And if you ask me, that looks a little bit like a camel toe. Anyway, but I was glad that I tried, and I was glad that I was brave enough to try, because even 6 months ago I would have avoided something like this like the plague. So there is a lot to be said for that. And as we all know with art, practice, practice, practice. That's what you've got to do. So it was never going to be a masterpiece. I knew that from the outset. However, I'm glad that I tried, and I was quite happy with the way that it turned out overall, although I do definitely need to work on anatomy. I mean, look at this lady's feet. Look at her feet. They look like the stunted hands, and when I drew them in the insert, they're not much better. But still, points for trying. The last Scrawlrchallenge of the year I have only had for a few days, and as an aside, I would just like to say it is my least favourite box of the year. I thought the supplies were terrible, and I very, very, very rarely say that about anything. The only other thing in an entire year of Scrawlrbox I've said that about is the Faber-Castell eraser pencil. It was awful. But other than that, I'm quite open and I'm quite forgiving in terms of the supplies, but this month's box was just awful. The prompt was pastel petals, which I thought was a bit off for the time of year. This is the outcome of the December box. We were given Pilot Friction pens, which was a set of highlighters and a black ballpoint, as well as a couple of Sharpies and a silver paint pen. And the supplies themselves, they're not art supplies, they're stationery supplies. And they do not lend themselves to making good artwork. So just a quick rundown here. The friction pens, which have erasable ink, I used the eraserness just to cut out some of these lines in the background and stick some highlights on my flower dragon. You can see like down the neck there and a little bit up here and down the arms and stuff. When it actually came to using the friction pens, I used the black pen to draw all these petals, and then I used the highlighters to colour in the actual body of the dragon and do the petals. The colours muddy into each other. I don't know how well you'll be able to see that on camera, but the black ink was actually smearing in with the highlighter, which is absolutely useless. And the eraser part was too clumsy to do anything in any sort of detail, hence the reason I didn't use the eraser anywhere else. I stuck with the silver paint pen for scales and just a little bit of detail. But this was not an enjoyable process at all, and that was down to the supplies. It was nothing to do with my skill level. I'm quite aware of my skill level now. And even down the bottom here, I had a raised part of it, and I went to go back over it, and you can see the mess that it's left. The highlighter doesn't even go down on the paper properly, let alone anything else. So you're, in terms of creating a high quality artwork that's got a bit of texture in it, you're kind of beat before you start. So I was really not pleased with the December box at all, and I'm even less pleased with my artwork, because this could have been so much better had I had another set of supplies. So that was a bit unfortunate, and it's a bit of a crappy way to end the year in terms of Scrawlrbox. But I have been reading your comments and things, and I have noticed that a lot of you are not happy with this month's Scrawlrbox, and personally neither am I. I think it's a bit of a... I understand that there has to be variety, and you're not going to get a set of artist grade pencils in a Scrawlrbox every month, because number one, that would be boring, but number two, there's only so many companies that are willing to participate and put their items into things like this, so there is going to be variation. However, to be given such a poor set and a poor combination of supplies, I just thought was a bit off personally. But that is just my opinion, and if you have a positive view of this box, I would love to hear it. So again, this is probably one of my least favourite Scrawler challenges as well. My poor dragon. So there you go. That is 12 months, 12 Scrawler challenges, and some highs, some lows. You know, we had so much variation, and I love the Scrawler challenges because I think they're a great way to push yourself. Not only have I found some mediums that I've absolutely loved, but it's been really helpful for me to find out the things that I'm not so keen on or I'm not so good at. And it's pushed me into trying to draw things and create art that, as I said, I would never otherwise even consider. So I have thoroughly enjoyed my year of Scrawler challenges, and I am looking forward to 2019 to see what that brings. That is it for now, guys. Once again, happy holidays to everyone, and we shall see you tomorrow for our very last day of Cavemas. Have a good day, everybody. Bye for now.